Hello, Soberinos, and welcome to this week's Friday Fix, which today is all about why you need a plan when you stop drinking and you're learning how to live life sober. Why planning is so important. So, the first point to make here is that when you first stop drinking, it can feel like a lot of stuff is outside of your control. It can feel like there's loads of stuff to deal with. It's all a bit of a struggle. It's unfair. It's hard work. It's scary. Some people feel terrified when they first stop drinking because they don't know how they're going to cope without alcohol. So there's a lot of stuff that can feel as if it's outside of our control. Um, Having a plan, and this is one of the fundamental reasons that it's important to plan, is that it gives you control. It gives you a structure, and having a structure for each day actually gives you an element of control. And having that control is really helpful for all sorts of things. But giving yourself any kind of control, giving yourself any kind of structure when you first stop drinking is a really, really, really good thing to do because so much of everything feels like it's outside of your control. So giving yourself control, giving yourself structure by having a plan each and every day is a really good thing to do. What kind of plan doesn't really matter. Some people like to have a really tight, structured schedule, planning from hour to hour every day. So knowing what they're going to be doing at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Some people prefer a really tight plan that they have to stick to. Other people prefer something looser, like roughly what they're going to be doing in the morning, what they're going to be doing in the afternoon, what they're going to be doing in the evening. It doesn't matter what kind of plan suits you as long as you are making a plan. Now, why do we want to be making a plan? Well, apart from the fact that it gives you control in a situation where you might otherwise feel out of control, it does have other benefits too. With that feeling of control, and that feeling of control comes because when you're making a plan, you're kind of listing everything you're going to be doing during the day. And each time you accomplish one of those things, you're ticking it off. And by accomplishing each thing on your list and ticking it off, you're actually boosting your confidence, you're boosting your self-esteem, you're getting a sense of satisfaction, you're getting a feel-good factor because you have set out to do something and you've done it. So it just gives you control, even if it's on paper, even if it's on a computer or a phone, it doesn't matter. But it gives you a sense of control over your time and over your actions that gives you a really good motivational boost. It gives you a confidence boost. And in the early days of learning how to live your life sober, it's really, really, really important to give yourself every opportunity you possibly can to feel good about yourself. Having a plan helps you to feel good about yourself. And this is a good thing because when you're feeling good about yourself, you're feeling more motivated, you're feeling stronger, you are better able to deal with some of the challenges that might come your way. So, any opportunity to feel good about yourself, having a plan, sticking to it, and reaping all of the rewards is a good thing. The other thing that's good, the other benefit to having a plan is that feel good factor that comes when you are ticking off everything that you are doing on your plan and you're sticking to your plan means that you get a dopamine kick. So the feel good chemicals in your brain and in your body, all of the hormones that help you to feel good, they all start kicking in. Each time you tick something off on your plan, you achieve something on your plan. And it's important that you keep your plan realistic and achievable because you want to be successful. You want to be successfully ticking everything on your plan off as you do it, because that is what gives you the dopamine kick. And remember that alcohol has been giving us a kind of artificial dopamine boost. So when we stop drinking, it's really important that we get that dopamine boost in other ways. And this is a really good way to do it, is to have a plan. The other benefit to having a plan is that not only do you feel more confident because you know what's coming in your day, you've planned ahead and you know what's coming, so you feel confident about dealing with off the cuff invitations and spontaneous things that crop up because you've got a plan and you're sticking to it. It gives you that confidence. Not only that, but it also keeps you engaged and distracted from thinking about drinking. Just trying to think, there was one more thing that I wanted to cover there. Oh, the other benefit is that it also helps you to set up new, healthy, happier habits and patterns in place of the old drinking habit. So when you've got a plan and you're sticking to it, if, for instance, you are trying to set up you're trying to build a healthy evening habit into your lifestyle, and you've decided that every evening after you've had your evening meal, you are going to go for a 20-minute walk, either around the block or in the countryside, whatever you can do. You've decided you're going to do a 20-minute walk in the evening after your meal, and that forms part of your plan. The benefit to having that plan and sticking to it is that you are making it easier for yourself to establish and sustain new, healthier habits. So there are a whole host of benefits to having a plan and sticking to it. Having a plan and not sticking to it, by the way, is a waste of time. There's no point doing it because that's just going to make you feel bad instead of good. And you want to feel good as often as you possibly can. So whatever plan you create for yourself on a day-to-day basis, you make sure it's achievable and you make sure that you set yourself up for success because you can stick to it. It can be challenging and it can make you work and it can sometimes be a struggle, but you make sure you're setting it up that you can stick to it and you can tick things off and you can get that sense of fulfillment and satisfaction that's going to kick off those dopamine rewards and help you feel good. Now, when I'm talking about planning in the context of when you stop drinking and when you're learning to live your life sober, it's a good idea to be planning. I'm talking really about two types of planning. One is the day-to-day planning that you're going to do for every day of the week to make sure that you're staying on track. And the second type is the kind of planning that you do when you know you've got an upcoming challenging or triggering situation coming up, and you want to give yourself the best chance of success in dealing with that situation. So you are going to plan in advance for how you're going to deal with that situation. So there are two types of planning that we're really talking about here. And I want to give you a couple of examples of this. So I'm going to describe how I was planning things back in the early days. I'm going to give you an example of a plan that I did when I first stopped drinking. And I'm going to give you an example of the kind of planning that I do now and kind of show you how things have evolved and how things have developed. And hopefully in the process as well, actually demonstrate to you the real life benefits of having a plan and sticking to it. So planning back then, in the early days of me living my life sober and learning how to live my life sober, the kind of planning I was doing was very much that dealing with triggers and dealing with challenging situations that were going to crop up. And the example I'm going to give you is the very first party I went to when I was sober. I can't remember exactly at what stage in my alcohol-free life this was. It would have been a few months in. And we'd been invited to a party and I was absolutely dreading it. The only experiences of parties that I had was getting absolutely wasted, either and most often embarrassing myself, sometimes just having a good time, always waking up with a hangover and having to resort to drinking more alcohol the next day in order to recover and to feel any kind of semblance of normality. So my only experience of parties had been with lots and lots of alcohol, and of feeling the alcohol enabling me to feel uninhibited enough to be able to be sociable, to be able to be confident, to be able to talk to other people. I didn't know what it was like to experience a party sober. So I was dreading this party. I was dreading, I was worried I was going to be boring, that I wasn't going to have anything to say to anyone, that other people were going to think I was really boring and dull because I was no longer going to be the life and soul. I was no longer going to be jumping on tables and doing crazy things and getting into arguments and provoking all sorts of stuff. I was worried that not only was I going to be boring and other people were going to find me boring and dull, but that I was also going to be bored. I was going to be bored out of my brains because I wasn't going to know how to behave, what to do. I wasn't going to get on with anybody else. I wasn't going to have alcohol to be able to help me to get onto other people's level and to communicate with other people. So I thought I was going to be bored stupid. There were so many things I was worried about. I just didn't want to go. I did not want to go to this party. So I planned ahead, and this is the kind of planning I was doing in those early days. I planned what I was going to be drinking instead of alcohol. And I think I took a couple of bottles of non-alcoholic or alcohol-free lager that I drank while I was there. I took my own drink to make sure I had something to drink that I would enjoy. So I planned what I was going to be drinking. I planned the amount of time I was going to spend there. I gave myself an escape route. I knew that if I planned in advance a limited amount of time to spend there, that would be a lot easier to deal with than just thinking about the whole evening at this party. So I discussed it with my partner, and we agreed we were only going to spend 2 hours at this party. And we planned our escape route. We had an excuse at the ready for why we had to leave early. And that made the whole event so much more manageable, knowing that I only had to endure it for 2 hours. I also planned ahead by rehearsing out loud and in the mirror what I was going to say if anybody questioned why I wasn't drinking or if anybody pressured me to drink. Funnily enough, that just didn't happen, and it very rarely happens. If you're with the right people and you're at the right events, and if you've planned ahead and you're feeling 100% confident with what you're doing, you don't feel any pressure to drink. That doesn't happen. And actually, what I've noticed that's been really interesting over the years is nobody else bats an eyelid. If you're confident about not drinking and you've planned what you're going to say and your reasons for not drinking, and it's entirely up to you how much honesty you go into and how much detail you go into with other people when they're asking you. If you've planned what you're going to say in advance, you feel confident and you're much more confident in your delivery of what you're saying. And when people are asking you, oh, how come you're not drinking? And you give a really confidently delivered response, they just accept it. They don't put you under any pressure. They just accept it. All that paranoia and self-consciousness about what other people are going to think is wasted. Absolutely wasted. Nobody bats an eyelid. But having rehearsed what I was going to say in advance as part of my plan really helped to give me that confidence I needed to be able to address any questions I might have had, which didn't come. The other thing I did in terms of planning in advance was I planned kind of how I was going to approach the party. So I decided to play a few games and set myself little challenges while I was there, partly as a way of engaging myself at the party, part as a way of getting into the right confident, positive mindset and approach to make the party bearable. And what I did was I set myself these little challenges. So I decided one of the things I could do was I could go into the party being really curious about what the experience was going to be like sober, how it was going to be different. So rather than going to the party anxious and worried, I decided to just get curious and treat it like an experiment and just explore parties sober. What's it like? What's the difference? What's going to happen? How am I going to feel? 30 minutes in, 60 minutes in, 90 minutes in, and how am I going to feel 2 hours later when I'm leaving and going home? So kind of treating it a bit like an experiment and an adventure, and getting really curious about what I was going to notice that was different, really helped me get into the right mindset and to approach it positively and confidently. The other little game I set myself was to get curious about the number of other people at the party who weren't drinking. So I decided to count all of the people at the party who weren't drinking. And I can't remember the precise amount of people, but it was a lot. And I played little games with that. I kind of sat there when I was bored, because I was bored and awkward at the beginning of the party. Um, I was watching people, and I was noticing the people who weren't drinking, and I was making up little stories about them in my head. And actually, in counting the number of people who weren't drinking, what that did was give me more confidence, because when you're paying attention to the people who are not drinking, that just reassures you you're not the only one. And loads of people are not drinking for a host of different reasons, which means that you don't have to feel paranoid about what other people are thinking, because there's so many people not drinking for a host of different reasons. Nobody's going to bat an eyelid about why you're doing it. So all of that planning in advance really helps you to deal with upcoming events and upcoming triggers and challenges. So that's the kind of planning I was doing way back then. The kind of planning I'm doing now is totally different. Now I don't have to think about not drinking. I don't have to think about alcohol. It's not a thought process. It doesn't enter my head. Um, I live my life kind of unconsciously sober. It's an unconscious process that I'm not thinking about at all. And it's not an issue. It's just a non-issue. Alcohol isn't something that I give any energy to or any thought to. So the kind of planning I now do on a day-to-day basis is all done. I'm going to show you because I love my book so much. I have this wonderful planner, which you're probably not going to be able to see properly. But I use this planner every single day, every single week. On a Sunday evening, I open the next week of my planner, and I blank out the sort of 9 to 5 slot when I'm going to be doing my normal job. And then what I do is I plan everything else I've got to do around that, in the lunch breaks, first thing in the morning, and in the evening. And I can tell you, I would not be achieving half as much as I'm achieving if I wasn't doing this day-to-day planning. So an example from this week is that Monday morning at 8:30, I had planned to do 10 minutes on my book. I'm writing a book, and I need to keep the momentum going, because if I don't keep the momentum going, it's very easy to put it to one side and to not bother doing it one day. So I do 10 minutes on my book, did that first thing in the morning, then had my Monday blocked out for work, and then I had a 40-minute slot in the evening after work for my workout. Then Tuesday, I had a run scheduled in first thing in the morning. I went for a run. I then had a lunch blocked out to take the dog, Arlie, to his agility class. I then had an hour blocked out in the evening after work to work on my website. I'm restructuring the website at the moment. I'm refreshing it all and hopefully improving it. So I had an hour blocked off to do that. Then on the Wednesday, I had 10 minutes on my book first thing in the morning. I listened to a mindfulness audio. In fact, one of the audios in the guidance program, I listened to in my lunch break. Then in the evening, I had scheduled in to do more on my website text. Then Thursday morning, which is actually this morning, I'm recording this on a Thursday morning, I had a workout scheduled in at 8. And then I had more website text to do in the evening. So, and then Friday I've got more. Tomorrow I've got 10 minutes on my book. I've got a workout scheduled in after work. I've then got a couple of, I'm taking some time off my main job on Friday afternoon, and I've got a couple of go get sober phone calls to make in the afternoon. And then I've got more website text to do in the evening. Now, there is stacks of stuff, and the weekend as well, I've got stuff going on. There is stacks of stuff outside of my main job that I would never do if I didn't plan it in to my daily planner. And what happens is each time I do one of these things, I put a little tick next to it. And each time I put a little tick next to it, I feel satisfied. I feel fulfilled. I feel good about myself because I've achieved that one thing. And I do that religiously every day. And what happens each time I do it is that because it makes me feel good and it boosts my confidence and it boosts my self-esteem and it boosts my self-respect and I get that dopamine hit, it kind of makes me more addicted to doing more of it. So I do more of it. So this becomes a pattern. To actually schedule in all the stuff I've got to do around my main job becomes easy because I want to do it, because it's scheduled in and I'm ticking it off and I'm feeling good about doing it. At the end of the week, I do a little weekly review and I look at what the wins for that week have been, what are the lessons I've learned, how I'm going to improve the following week, and also what's made me happy in the week. So spending an hour on a Sunday evening doing my planning for the next week or the week ahead actually saves me time. It makes me more efficient with my time, and it does all of those feel good things like boosting confidence, self-esteem, self-respect, dopamine levels and all of that, because it enables me to sail through my week in an efficient way, making the most of the time that I've got, plus also managing to fit in an hour or two in the evening of just relaxing or cooking or eating or going for a walk with the dog, whatever it might be. But it enables me to manage my time in a way that works for me. And that's really the difference between the kind of planning I was doing way back then and the kind of planning I'm doing now. I would love to hear from you about what kind of planning you're doing. And if you're not doing any planning, what kind of planning are you going to start doing? Because planning gives you control of your time, and that gives you control over your life. And that helps you to take your life in the direction you want it to go. It's all about control and it's all about power. And if you want to take power and control over where you're going in life, what you're achieving in life, you need to start planning if you're not already doing it. So let me know what kind of planning you're going to be doing, what kind of planning you're already doing. I would love to hear from you. I will look forward to catching up with you in tomorrow's Saturday share in the Facebook group, the Go Get Sober Facebook group. If you're not already there, come over there, join us and say hello. I'll look forward to catching up with you then. But in the meantime, let's go get sober together. Bye for now.